Okay, this Founder Friday, I want to talk about something that has kind of been on my mind lately. And it is the question of negatively reinforcing positive behavior. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean when someone is supposed to call you and they don't call you, they forget. And then they finally do call you and you chew them out for not calling you and you yell at them. That is negatively reinforcing positive behavior. Um, this happened recently because a friend of mine was basically waiting on someone who was supposed to text them and hang out with them. And the person ended up getting caught up with packing and doing all this stuff and didn't end up texting until the end of the day, by which point my friend was, kind of pissed. And so he was asking me, how do I respond to this person? I want to tell her that communication is important to me. And you guys know me. I'm a huge fan of open and honest and truthful communication. So he was saying, I want to tell her how I feel about this and how it hurt me and how I don't want her to do it again. And and my point to him was that may be the case, but you have to think about the fact that when this person did reach out to you, even though it was later than you wanted it to be, they were finally doing the thing you ultimately wanted them to do, which was communicate with you, right? And if you make them feel bad when they do that thing, if you are yelling at them or telling them that they hurt you, even though they may have, you're basically creating this negative reinforcement around the thing you wanted them to do in the first place. It's kind of like, have you ever had it happen where you forget to call your parents for a little while, and then when you finally do call them, they guilt trip you about how you haven't been calling them, and you're like, well, why do I even call you guys in the first place now? Because you're just making me feel bad every time I do it. It serves the purpose of the person who's chewing you out because they get to feel better and they feel like they've got something off their chest, but it doesn't actually produce the kind of outcome that you would want. And so I am, of course, a big fan of communicating. And so I don't think that if someone did something that you're upset with or that hurt you, that you shouldn't address it. But I think what you need to do and what you owe it to yourself to do at that point is to make space for that conversation. And often that conversation should not be happening right at that moment where they've gotten in touch with you or where they've done the thing that you wanted them to do, because first of all, you're already still kind of emotionally worked up about it. And second of all, it's not going to be the best headspace for them either, right? So I think the best thing you can do there is be really appreciative, thank them for doing that thing, and sort of move on and then create the space maybe later that day. It could be, a few minutes, it could be the next day or something like that, to have that conversation and have it in a way that that is non-threatening and where you've thought about all the sides. I have a slide deck about how to have difficult conversations out there, which I highly recommend people check out. So that's a little bit about that side. And then there's the opposite side. If you've ever read The Power of Habit, it's a fantastic book by Charles Duhigg. And they talk about basically how habits are these loops of a trigger, an action, and then the reward for that action, and finally a craving that sort of ties it all together and makes those three things happen more and more often, right? So you have now, I was talking about on the negatively reinforcing positive behavior side, but I've also been thinking a lot about how we often positively reinforce negative behavior without realizing it. And for me, the clearest example of this is not going to the gym. When I plan to go to the gym or when I plan to do something that maybe I don't want to do, and I decide, maybe the weather's not great, maybe I'm not feeling fine or whatever, right? They're all lame reasons, but every once in a while, I do this as well. And then you have to think about, well, what do you do instead, right? Do you not go to the gym so that you can watch TV or so that you can eat junk food, so you can, do something else that's enjoyable? Well, that's doubly bad, right? Because what you're reinforcing and what you're telling your body is that this negative behavior, which was not committing to doing the thing and doing the thing you committed to do, is actually good, and you're rewarding yourself. You're doing something that is going to feel enjoyable, for not doing that. So the thing I would say about that is, well, if you don't happen to do the thing, if you don't go to the gym, at least don't do something else that's really enjoyable so that your body thinks it's okay, so that your body actually starts to associate that positivity and that good feeling with breaking your own promises and commitments. Two sides of the same coin, do you see? So yeah, that's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. And that's it for my Founder Friday this week. If you have any thoughts or any ideas you want to contribute, post them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I hope you found this interesting.